Alright, it's conspiracy theory time, YouTube. A video about conspiracy theories. I'm going to focus on the big theory, the idea of the Illuminati, the Masons, the Zionists, the feminists, the Satanists, I don't know, whatever other groups that get mashed in there over time. The big conspiracy theory surrounding the Illuminati charges that this organization is trying to, I guess, subvert the Western culture in some way, that it's basically trying to take control and make a police state. And this may or may not be true. I mean, the Illuminati as an actual above-ground organization no longer exists. Could there be some underground organization worldwide that calls itself the Illuminati? I guess there could be. There's no evidence that one exists, but it could theoretically be possible. The problem that I have with most conspiracy theorists and most conspiracy theories isn't the idea that there are subversive elements trying to generally either take over the world, take over a country, influence the political system, undermine or support a specific religion, etc. Of course conspiracies like that exist. There are always groups that are going to try to consolidate power because power begets power. There are always going to be groups that are against or for specific religious groups, and so forth, so on and so forth. This isn't really in the realm of conspiracies so much as that's just human nature. People tend to want more power when they've got a little bit of power. We all know that the corporations are trying to monopolize the American system, certainly. We all know the corporations are trying to screw us all and give us a totalitarian government. That's why I react by supporting Ron Paul and the libertarian movement. Other people react by claiming that the corporate leaders are reptilians. Two very different answers to the same problem, one which makes sense and the other which is based on, let's face it, faulty logic at best. I'd like to go a little bit into the Henry Macow side of the conspiracy theory movement, though, because I have a special soft spot for hating Henry Macow. Because Henry Macow is up there, you know, there's basically the trifecta. There's Macow, then there's Alex Jones, and then there's David Icke. Alex Jones is the sort of libertarian, anti-censorship, anti-government dude. He's a loony, but some of his ideas make sense. For instance, he supports the libertarian movement and so forth. David Icke is sort of the traditionalist, aliens and tinfoil hats conspiracy theorist, and Henry Macow is more of the political conspiracy theorist, dealing mostly with trying to insinuate that all of these various disparate groups are working together to subvert, in his opinion, white, Christian, Western, male-dominated culture. His site, Save the Males, really is a laugh. If you go on it, I mean, you'll get stuff about, you know, how the Illuminati, Zionists, Satanists, and all this bullshit. Let me explain something to you. Let me explain to you conspiracy theorists what you're being drawn into. If the government didn't want you to know about the Illuminati and all of these groups, then why is it that they're constantly in the limelight? It does not make sense. If anything, the conspiracy that would exist is to get people to believe in silly conspiracy theories so that rather than vote, or rather than support a candidate that is good, or rather than go protest, or rather than speak their mind on even something as small-minded as a blog, rather than speak their mind and go out into the community and do something about the problems in the country, the big conspiracy is that by following after these little conspiracy theories, 2012, the Illuminati, the Masons, Satanism, whatever it happens to be, you will ignore the big issues and focus single-mindedly on the task at hand, which is trying to combat a straw man which doesn't even exist. That is, that Henry Macow and Alex Jones and David Icke and all of these other major conspiracy theorist figures are actually chasing shadows and wasting their time, and that's primarily what the government would like them to do. These people all have an organizational capacity. They've got the charisma, they've got the learning potential, they've already got audiences that extend Macau in the hundreds or thousands, to Alex Jones or David Icke, who have hundreds of thousands of fans worldwide. They have a great deal of potential power. What the government is probably laughing their ass off at is that these individuals are wasting their time on their own homebred conspiracy theories rather than trying to effect actual change and justice to hold the government accountable for what it's doing, which is polluting our water, polluting our air, passing laws that limit our freedoms, trying to pass, for instance, SOPA, expanding the power of the TSA, giving all sorts of bureaucratic organizations all sorts of power, wasting our money fighting people overseas for no reason. All of these things tie into government corruption and government abuse of power. The problem is that some of the best and brightest minds, some of the people with the capacity to organize people in a coherent movement against these government forces, are wasting their time and drawing thousands of people out of the potential pool of resistance into conspiracy theories. Now let me explain something for you, for those of you who may or may not know about some of the more common conspiracy theories out there. You will never find a Satanist working with a Zionist. You will never find a Mason working with a Zionist. The Illuminati may not even exist. You've got, let's take Henry Macau's arguments, for example. He claims that devil worshippers and, I guess, regular Satanists, Masons, Zionists, feminists, communists, liberals, gays, and probably other groups as well that aren't as heavily mentioned because they may be smaller or less powerful, that all of these groups are working together to undermine Western civilization, which in his view is dominated by white Christian male culture. His site Save the Males is basically all about the feminization of the Western cultures. Now, his theory makes sense on the surface because, yes, there is an undermining of the white Christian male-dominated culture. When you look deeper, though, you understand that the undermining of this culture doesn't even come from the mass media. If you look on TV, you always get the idea of the man as, you know, the knight in shining armor and all this bullshit about the man being the strong one and the woman is just superficial and obsessed with clothing. You get that image from the mass media all the time. There's no real work to undermine males and white males in that culture, or even necessarily Christians. What you do have is a drop-off in the number of people in this country and throughout the Western world calling themselves Christians, so naturally it's going to be more and more marginalized. You've got an undermining of white culture, perhaps, because you've got more minorities breeding at a faster rate than the white population. Now, you can look at this one way and say it's a problem. You can look at the other way and say it doesn't really matter. Personally, I happen to fall into the latter category. I don't really care. I believe that Europe needs to enforce its traditional racial makeup because Europe has a different culture than the United States. But here in the United States, we were based on immigration to begin with. We should be based on immigration in the future. What idiots like Macau think, and Henry Macau is a Swiss Jew living in Canada, so that should give you an idea of how in touch he is with American political life. America should continue to allow immigrants from all parts of the world because America was never a purist movement to begin with. It was meant to be a melting pot or a salad bowl, whichever you happen to wish to view it as. But these conspiracy theorists, they're barking up the wrong tree because to think, I'm a Satanist myself. I would be dead before I worked with a Zionist. I don't really support feminism. I am apathetic towards the gay movement. I believe that gays should have the same rights as any other citizen. I'm apathetic towards the movement, though, because I think it's their responsibility primarily to influence policy to achieve that end. It's not really any of my business. I'm not gay, so I'm not really concerned with their movement. I support it if they want to have it, but they need to do the footwork. I don't give a shit about the Masons. I've never even met a Mason. They don't matter to me. Their beliefs are disparate from mine. I agree with them on the idea of having particularly secular Western government, rather than theocracy, like someone like Henry Macau might think we want, which is a radical extremist policy which makes no sense and flies in the face of thousands of years of history telling us theocracy is a bad thing, usually. Again, all of these groups, he's lumping them together and saying they're all working together somehow. I fail to see how Satanists are even working against the Christian majority. The vast majority of Satanists, even devil worshippers, don't give a shit. The vast majority of them are in the closet. They don't even talk about their religious faith. I happen to be one of a very small number of Satanists on the planet who is open about his Satanism. I am a very rare breed. There might be a few thousand of us in the entire world. The other tens of thousands of Satanists, they never mention it to anyone. Their own families probably don't even know. The same with gays. Half the gays in the world are in the closet too. Some of the feminists are probably in the closet. All of these groups, what links these groups together, and this I think is why people like Macau focus on them so much, is that they are not open to the public. They are exclusive and tend to be more solitary. The reason for this is because these groups have been discriminated against. You've never looked at the satanic panic of the 80s? There were Satanists were kicked out of colleges, Satanists were kicked out of high schools, they were targets for bullying, they were targets for police brutality, all sorts of abuse was heaped upon them. I'm not surprised most of them are in the closet. Personally, I wish they would all come out at once and show the world just how large our numbers are. That's probably not going to happen, though. Same with feminists. There was always brutality towards them. Same with gays. Until very recently in this country, gay was considered a mental disease. Apparently people like Macau still think that. Zionism. Who gives a fuck about the Zionists? I don't look at me. I'm a Satanist. If I'm working together with the Zionists to undermine white Christian culture, why is it I don't support Israel? I support Palestine. I think Palestine should be that entire region. I don't think there should be an Israel. That's just my thought. So how the hell am I working with or for the Zionists? I've had people in the last few days come up and say, well, all these conspiracies exist, and you're just in denial. You're working for these people without even realizing it. No, the conspiracy theories are the ones working for the government. Guess why? Because they're focused on these conspiracy theories. They're not doing anything else of any benefit. They're not protesting. They're not voting. They think all the candidates are reptilians. Who the hell are they going to vote for? They've been infected by this idiotic trash conspiracy nonsense, and they dare to look at other people and say that they're the ones that are brainwashed. I don't see why anyone could listen to what someone like Henry Macau or David Icke says and take it seriously. Alex Jones I'll give begrudging respect for. Not because I don't think he's a lunatic, because he is, but because he's actually attempting, at least partially, to put his support group into action for a good cause. By supporting a libertarian candidate, he's showing that he at least has some sanity left. This is something that David Icke or Henry Macau do not share as a quality. They have no sanity left. They are insane. And they've been so complete. Actually, well, to tell the truth, I think Henry Macau just wants to sell books. I think he's more in it for the money. He's very good at making money, like, you know, all people like him are. He's crazy, and he looked and he said, oh, well, let's exploit this conspiracy theory. He's the one that authored the game Scruples, which is basically an ethnocentric, white-centric view of morality that was wonderful family entertainment for many decades. And that's about the sum of his argument, is basically, you know, have white Christian male morality, women in the kitchen, heathens out of the country, I guess. That's about his view. And then David Icke, of course, just focuses on how somehow all of these disparate political figures are, you know, some reptilian race or something, which was never adequately explained. We're not sure if he means genetically, literally reptilian, or if it's just a blanket term for anyone who he disagrees with, probably the latter. So I would say to the conspiracy theorists, you've really got to get off my back about this, because if anyone is brainwashed, it's you. You're just doing the government's bidding, and you're the one that's been blinded. I'm not blinded. You are. Peace out.